Hi, everybody. I wanted to whip out a quick tutorial on something I learned recently at our English department meeting. A longtime instructor, her name is Georgie Ziff, who has a lot of experience teaching online, has gotten involved recently in this program called OER or COE. I'm not sure, OEI. You can see in front of you the letters that are associated with it on this email that she sent to me recently, which I will make larger. But the reason I'm bringing this to your attention is that I've been recently working on my shells for spring semester, trying to make improvements because I know that this was my first full semester working online, and so I wanted to make it as good as I possibly can. She brought up some things that are absolutely great in terms of student access, making it so that it's incredibly visible for the things that they need to do. And after I show you what she's told us about briefly, I'm going to take some pieces out of it. Then I'm going to show you before and after from my own shells, from what I did this semester and how I've improved it for next semester. So I just want you to listen to Georgie. I've cut some pieces out of this, so I'm going to let Georgie tell you what it's all about.
Saying that the courses of people who I admired and were really well organized were becoming more aligned to this rubric. And especially when the pandemic kicked in and everybody went online last spring, a lot of people that were unfamiliar with how to build their courses and how to make them interesting and accessible and engaging were really struggling. And so, not only at Cal State, but at Berkeley City College and at Contra Costa College, and I started helping people with their courses. Actually, they were giving me their passwords, and I was going in with them on Zoom and saying, "Well, let's try this, and let's try this, and you notice this." So I've gotten a lot more interested in how to engage our students, and I'm noticing now that the rubric actually makes a lot of sense. And it's sort of a human condition that we know when we achieve a certain level of what we think is competency in our field, we're very resistant to anybody saying, "Have you thought about?" You're like, "No, no, 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 I'm good," right? So I had to sort of. It was a very humbling experience, and I've been very lucky that I've been working with a good mentor at Contra Costa College, and they actually have like I think 6 or 7 Canvas OEI mentors at Berkeley City College. They have 5 of them at Contra Costa College. I think they have 3 at Alameda and I think 1 or 2 at Laney. So this is sort of becoming an effort on the statewide cohort to get as many colleges on this platform as they can to provide consistency statewide. But right now, there's only 57 colleges that have become part of the cohort. And for some reason, Merit has not joined. I don't know why. I wasn't aware they hadn't joined because there's it's called a POCR review process. And that to undergo your courses through this POCR process, your college has to be part of the cohort or it basically doesn't count. So, some of you have heard about the ABCD course that I just finished at Berkeley City College. They created that with their own POCR team in-house, and it's only for Berkeley City College professors, unfortunately, because then the outcome is that they will use those courses in their college, and those courses will get priority. Same thing at Contra Costa College. They have their own in-house POCR reviewers and designers to help you, and then those courses will get priority. So I'm urging, I don't know who to talk to at Merit. I've sent an email to Monica Umbalo, and there's gotta be a funding reason. I don't know if it costs money to join the cohort, but even if it does cost a little, it seems that the payback is really, really, really good because not only would our instructors be more well informed, the courses would be consistent, the student engagement would increase. Plus, back in 2014, when things were just moving online, the idea behind the statewide initiative was to create a statewide course exchange, they called it. In other words, that when you have a course that's been certified as POCR reviewed, then it joins the statewide list of certified courses, meaning that if there's a student in Southern California or, up in Eureka that needs an English 1A course or an English 5 course before he can transfer and he can't get it at one of his local colleges, he can go on the statewide exchange and pick one off, right? It's available to them.
And here's the second part of her talk.
Time. But basically, it's kind of what you're doing already, but putting it in a different shape. So, for example, when you go to your homepage of a course. Oh no, wrong link. Okay. So this is my homepage. I'll open it up to you. What they're talking about is having, for example, balance, right? You want to have visual balance. So you can see, like, you have the principle of thirds in a design. All the images are on one side, it doesn't feel lopsided and so forth. You just want to have that. And you also want to have, this is very important to the OEI people, to have shortcuts. I want students to be able to go onto their home page and get to other places quickly. One thing that's different about OEI design, especially in an online environment, is that they want some information in writing, but they want it to be sort of brief. You introduce yourself, give some basic information, quickly tell the students what they need to do to be successful in the course, and then have links that go places. I mean, I'll come back to this later, but we should also realize that you have very specific headers for accessibility. And when you create these things, they're all created with a table for accessibility with proper headers. And you want to tell the students, okay, now that you know what you need to be able to do, they can anticipate the skills necessary, then tell them what to do. Here is how to start the course. Boom, 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 boom. Okay? So that's, like, for example, of the homepage. Then also the other fun thing is that there's a lot of resources online from the OER organization. So you can go to their website and they can give you examples of exactly how to set up your page if you want to. There's different examples. And the cool thing is that you can copy this HTML code. Just copy and paste it, and then go back into your course, click on, I'm not going to do it, but you click on edit, and then you just copy and paste the HTML code here. So you click on HTML editor, right? And that's where all the coding comes up. And you can literally just copy and paste the code that you got from their website, and boom, you'll have an accessible page for them. And you can tinker around with it. So there's a lot of really cool things on the OEI website to help. Okay. That's the other thing. The next step is for the section A, they want you to have organized modules. Now, most of us have modules that are one of three things, right? They're content-based, where you're just putting stuff there for the students and resources, or maybe you're organizing your course thematically through Unit A, Unit B, Unit C, according to what you're going to be doing. I tend to organize the bulk of my courses through weeks. Right? But there's got to be some way that the student understands how those are organized. And the OEI people have a pretty specific way of doing that, and I'll show you what that means. Actually, it's kind of small there, isn't it? Let me just go to the modules page. Bigger. So on the modules page, first of all, you want to have the content in here in blocks, right? And then the other thing they're really big on is having these text headers. You want it, instead of just having lists and lists and lists of stuff, you want to tell them, well, what is this for? Well, this is a section for Canvas. This is a section for course resources. And then down here, essay writing resources. Tell them what it is. The other thing they want you to do is put instructions in the label. So instead of just listing PowerPoints, tell them, read this PowerPoint, or even more specific, download and read this PowerPoint. And then you want to have course resources and essay writing resource also labeled. Tips for analysis, compare and contrast essay writing. And then when you get to the actual modules that the student's going to be operating in, this is how they want them organized. They want to have an overview of each week that tells the students what they did and what they're going to do. And then they want these labels. yes, we see that it says overview, but they still want you to put in overview. Then they want to have a text header that says discussions with all the discussions listed underneath it and the assignments. And then they also want you to have other resources. This is actually an alignment with a different section of the rubric. I think it's a section C, where you're having learner support. So each module and each assignment has to have other resources to support students who may be struggling. And as I was saying in the overview, when you click on the overview, they want you to have everything aligned with your course learning outcomes and your student learning outcomes, so that the students can anticipate what they're being expected to do and what they will be able to do. This is why they want you to use specific language, learning objectives. By the end of this week, you will be able to, and then after you've described everything, you align it with the SLOs of the course and the CLOs, and then you tell them what they will be doing. This week you will, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The other thing to notice is that when you are listing things according to the rubric, like if I go on to edit,
Okay, so that covers her little talk. She goes on and does some wonderful things on accessibility. And if anybody wants to see those things, I suppose I could send that link along. It has her whole presentation in it. It's a Zoom link. But what I wanted to do for the time that's remaining to me, which is not much, I wanted to show you what I did my first semester in my shell. This is a 1A shell that I have. And you can see this is the how-to. Notice how everything is just like list, list, list. Everything in this is just a list, list, list. There's no organization to it at all. So I feel a little embarrassed showing this to you after learning what Georgie taught us, and how to organize it. But I'm going to feel a lot better showing you what I did to make it better for next semester. So you can go through it and you can see that every week I organized it like she did every week, but this is what it's going to look like next semester. So I'm added John's video library, which I'm really pleased with. You have to be careful. I sent out a tutorial. Be careful with YouTube because they're very keen on copyright. And if you do more than 3 copyright violations, they're going to shut down your whole account. So I've only been able to put up one thing that was actually from a DVD. But you can see now that I've got under student orientation, even in that one, I've got some breakdowns, Canvas tutorials in the how to this and that, resources from John, Prof. John, video tutorials, and then when you get down into the extra credit, that's divided up as well. And my week number 1, I've got very, very clear divisions in what's going on. Week number 2, so the unit number 1 is the summary, and then where I have things turned in, it's very clearly labeled in a heading, a header in caps. Writing resources like she was talking about, that's also headed. And then unit number 2, so you can see it's broken down into discussions. And so I'm really kind of pleased with how this is set up in terms of visibility for the students, and think that it's going to really make a huge difference for them being able to access what they need to for the semester. So Georgie said that people are resistant to change, and I think that if we catch people early, like I am, this is early in my career. I mean, I think one of the things that appeals to people about teaching online is that people tell you, oh, once you get it set up, then you just sort of import it into the next semester, and you don't have to do a thing. Well, maybe we'll get to that point. We're certainly not there yet, or I'm not there yet. So I'm very pleased that I had some input in terms of how to make this better, and that I could apply it, as well as all kinds of other different things that I'm doing, including now that I do ScreenFlow, I'm doing a lot of ScreenFlow lessons, and so I'm really having a lot of fun with this whole online thing.